Beautiful morning, Baghdad. Saddam Hussein's one of the many palaces here. Waking up, driving some balls. What's up, Duo Daily? This is Chris Doyle. Just returned home from my trip to Iraq, where I went over and did some demos for the troops. I was lucky enough to have a camera with me, and I'm a really shitty videographer, but I was able to capture a few cool moments of the trip, and this is kind of how it went for me. When you go to Iraq, I get, for the first time, for me anyways, like Denise kissed me goodbye that morning before I left, and she's like, oh, just be careful and just keep your head down. Like, so in a sense, you know, I felt like I was going into a war zone, which I guess in a way you are, but I was just contacted to do these demos over in Iraq by Pro Sports MVP. I was just recovering from ankle surgery, but I figured, you know, when else am I ever going to get to go to the Middle East for free, do something like this and kind of support the troops. I flew Pittsburgh to Washington Dulles directly to Kuwait. You can't take a commercial aircraft directly into Iraq for a lot of different reasons. We were joined by Colin McKay and Josh Perry, whom I already knew just through riding. But then we were also joined by two skateboarders, one female skateboarder named Mimi Noop, and then Jake Brown. So the main objective was just to do demos, to give some entertainment to the troops, and kind of give them a little bit of a break from the norm. For being over there, you kind of realize that they work really hard, like long days. You get like 1 day a week off, because they see the same thing every day. They see the same people every day. After being over there, you see that they really appreciate that sort of thing. And, you know, if they want to see me fall off my bike a couple times, then I'll do it, give them a little bit of a show. Yeah, all the troops were great. They were all really excited about us riding, and a lot of support came our way. In that a lot of the troops came to the demos. Like, I didn't expect that. I thought that, you know, we'd get a little bit of a crowd, but I had no idea that like everyone from base that wasn't working at that moment would be there. Every troop that we met was really cool. We shook hands with a lot of people. Met a few guys that rode, a couple guys that skated, and we let the troops ride around on our bikes a little bit, but the generals weren't really excited about that. A lot of the troops came from the same generation that I did, so they grew up riding, or they grew up skating. So they knew what was up. They knew who certain riders were. Some of them knew who we were. You kind of realize that these are people from your generation. These aren't like, you know, old men, I should say. Like, these are kids. Like, these are guys that you could have gone to high school with. Yeah, and we just jumped from base to base. We traveled by C-130 aircraft. The C-130, we were all really excited about it at first. We were all, you know, really, you know, this is awesome, man. We're traveling in this flying 18-wheeler or whatever. It was like a gutted out barn in there. It was really uncomfortable, and the first time I was like, wow, this is so cool, but by the end of the trip we were all over it. They're so loud, and it'll give you an appreciation of flying on a nice cush 757 or whatever. The thing that you gotta watch out for is the red air, which red air is basically like huge sandstorms that roll in that cause the sky to turn red. We had a demo scheduled outdoor, but this sandstorm just rolled in out of nowhere.
It's a fucking wind, friggin' sandstorm.
So we had to go inside to this gymnasium. We ended up building some makeshift ramps just out of like pallets and wood that they had laying around the base. And everyone was really excited about that stuff because, I don't know, like built to shred or something, just taking what you have and making ramps out of it.
Good to see you doing a backflip over this pretty soon.
Hell yeah, dude.
That was really fun. That whole gymnasium setup was really cool, and the troops were really psyched on it. Saddam's palace on, I think that was Camp Victory. Being that we were MWR, we got to stay inside the palaces, and the tour guides kind of gave us the history and just gave us the whole background on Saddam Hussein and how he was like this huge, corrupt leader, and he was a narcissist, and he was just an evil, evil man. Saddam built his grandchildren this whole big replica of bedrock from the Flintstones, and he built this as an apology to his grandchildren for murdering their mother, his daughter. Crazy, because she fled Iraq. He convinced her and her husband to come back. They came back, and he just had them murdered. When you wake up in Saddam's palace, you really have to like step back and be like, whoa, how did my life bring me here? And or I should say that differently. When you're driving golf balls on the back porch of Saddam's palace, you have to question yourself for a second. Wow, like, how did my life, how did I get here? And it's mind-blowing to think that BMX has brought me to places like that. It's really cliche when you hear someone say like, oh, these troops do so much for us, they do so much for our freedom, and you know, I'm always like, yeah, okay, well, they made that choice, that's their choice. But after being over there and establishing relationships with some of these soldiers and meeting people, you do realize that it's a kind of a shitty way of life over there, and these people do give up a lot to go over there, pretty much defend our freedoms. And it's really eye-opening, because you meet kids that like have wives and have kids, and like, yeah, I haven't seen my kid in like 6 months, and you realize that like it's a shitty way of life, and they do it so that you and I can sit here and iChat. I don't really care much about the war, but it's more about the people and the soldiers and the troops and everyone that we met over there, and the relationships that I built with them was more important to me than the actual political side of things. I mean, that's something that I'll tell my kids about some days. You know, we had this war that lasted 15 years or however long this is going to go on, and that, you know, their father got to go over and entertain the troops. I mean, not a lot of people get to say that, so to me it was a big deal, and it was an honor just to be invited and to go over there and do something like that.